watching.
Now we're on the show. It's the pregame show. Look, we're here again. It's like we never left. We just changed shirts, which is good. You should have a clean shirt. Sam's got the same did not change shirts. He probably didn't even shower. Sam, what a disgrace.
Nope.
All right, let's start the show.
Nice talking to you,
It's
Sam.
an afternoon pregame show, and maybe we'll ask Sam to join and chat with us.
Get ready, boys.
Yes, indeed, we are back for another one. As this is the DLS Dallas Stars pregame show on a Sunday matinee in the capital city of Canada. It's, well, the suburbs. It's in Canada. It's outside of downtown Ottawa. Stars and Senators, although they're still trying to work with the government to get a building done right downtown, right near the Ontario-Quebec border in LeBreton Flats. In case you don't know, go to your Google Maps, check it out. It would be right near the Parliament, and it'd be kind of cool. As it stands, Luds, Craig Ludwig, Sam Nessler, our producer, John Anderson. I'm Owen Newkirk. We're all here, except for Sean, who's in Detroit watching a Red Wings game right now. They're crushing, as Luddy would say.
They're going to make the playoffs.
The Seattle Kraken, just thumping them. They're up 4-0 to start the first period. Luds, it's like a 2-hour bus ride. I looked at the maps because I want to make sure. It's like a 4-hour train ride. Maybe you can hire a quicker one. I don't know. But a 2-hour bus ride is probably, you said last night, probably worth not going to the airport, getting on and off the plane. That'll probably take longer. But it's not that bad. Is there any benefit to you for the fact, because Pete DeBoer said today when he met with Mike Heika and other media before the game, that it was a little bit of an advantage for Ottawa because they played an afternoon game in Pittsburgh. Longer travel, but few more hours of recovery time.
Well, just speaking for, our guys, is like you get on your bus and you're there in a couple hours versus going to the plane, unloading, take your bag, give them to the guys, put them underneath, get on your seat, and then you sit around till it gets buttoned up and everything like that. And then you go up and then you come back down, and then you got to go do the same thing all over again, bus, down, get to your hotel and everything like that. So and again, I've always said the one thing I don't understand, and I know the sleep is a big thing now. I mean, there's some trips now where you go to Vancouver, for instance, they'll stay overnight and then they'll fly back the next day or whatever, whichever trip that is. I never get it because there's logic to it, but players are awake. You're awake for 2 to 3 hours after a game. You can't go to sleep.
Right.
So I'm always like, man, let's go. Let's just get home, or let's just get to where we're going. Now, that's a little different. Back in the day, you could stay over in the city and you could go out a little bit if you didn't play for a couple of days. And, then there was a search and rescue kind of crew that came out the next day trying to find some of us. But I never understand that stuff. I just wonder if they even poll the players and say, what would you guys like to do? But I'm sure with all the testing and, everything now, they know that there's better off just staying here. But I will say, and I've always said this, these guys are, they live at Whole Foods, where we didn't even know what Whole Foods was at the time. So they take care of their bodies and themselves so much better today.
I'm still laughing about the idea of Whole Foods. Sam, the big storyline of the day is the winning streak. 7 in a row. It is the 8th time in franchise history they've won 7 or more games, and one shy of the only time they've won 8 in a row, which was last year between mid-March and early April, where they went 8-0-0, and that was a new franchise record. Luddy was a part of some big point streak games. The point streak's at 9, 8-0-1, the longest point streak since the 2019-2020 season. That was the pre-COVID lockdown. And in that season, they had an 11-0-1 12-game point streak. They have had 10 point streaks of 10 or more games. The record is Craig Ludwig's 98-99 Dallas Stars 15 when they went 12-0-3 from December of 98 till January of 99. They didn't lose a game in regulation for an entire month. What do you think about the way the Stars are playing right now and the history of the franchise?
It's surprising. Mike Heike and I were talking in Philly about how it was surprising that up until last year, no one had won 7, and I think no Dallas team had won more than 6. It's just crazy to think that all the good teams, all the cup teams that we're talking about now, and then the runs we've had since then, the 2015-16 team that basically seemed like they won every night. It's just surprising that the streak is as low as it is. You wouldn't think, oh, we're going to break a record if we get 9 wins in a row, but that's what this team's looking at, and they have a chance to tie it. It's funny now that we're looking at it as they have a chance to tie it, and it was just last season. It's not like it was a long time ago now, but everything's going right for them right now. And this is what it felt like when they did get those 8 wins last year, is that they were getting good goaltending. They're scoring enough goals. Their power play was doing well. And as we always know, their penalty kill and their defense was solid like it has been this year. And it felt like it just needed that one extra thing right now for things to really start clicking, and that was the goal scoring. And right now they were scoring 2 or fewer goals in almost every game before this streak, and now they're scoring 3 or more, and it's a hard team to beat.
That's what I was going to say, Sam, when you said everything's going great for them right now. Everything except the bottom 2 lines that don't score. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And I don't mean that in a bad way. They're doing things that they just do things that they need to do in order to get on and off the ice without giving up a goal, a poor goal, and the power play isn't anywhere near where we expect it to be, but they keep on winning, which is a really, really good problem to have when you say, okay, well, they're getting everything from the top 2 lines, and their penalty kill has been as close to flawless as you can get. And I think the biggest thing has been the goaltending. And Owen and I were talking about before the show, and Owen did some math and all that kind of.
We'll share it with him.
Jumping gymnastics that he does, but I mean, it's just and again, the good news is this team isn't even. I don't think they're as deep as they were from a scoring standpoint, just in general last year. But the good news for me when that's happening is you're learning how to win when you're not outscoring or don't have to outscore your problems, and you don't have to outscore your mistakes. They're finding ways to keep the puck out of the net. And I think now we're getting closer to my philosophy of being able to defend. And that's a little bit more playoff.
Well, let's talk about those numbers, because this is the halfway point of the season for the Dallas Stars. 41 games down, 41 to go. Today will be game number 42, obviously. So I wanted to compare where they were. We had a chat last night with one of our super chats that said, look at the record. Last year, 24, 12, and 5. That's 53 points. They were tied for 7th in the league when they hit the 41-game mark, and they had a point percentage of .646, also 7th in the league at that time. This year, they have 3 more wins in their first 41 games and 2 more points. 27, 13, and 1, 55 points. They are also tied for 7th in the league in points, and they are 5th in point percentage at .671. Here's what you need to remember. Dallas has a bunch of games in hand this year over the rest of the league because of their Finland trip. Last year at this time, they had played as many as the top teams around them in the standings. So if in actuality, well, they're still in the same ranking in the league after 41 games in points, they're actually further, not just the 2, but higher up when you consider the games in hand. Now, what really stands out, Luds, is twofold. Regulation wins. I didn't mention this to you earlier, but they have 22 regulation wins, which is tied for the 6th most in the league right now. Last year, they only had 17. Remember, they had a really nice turnaround last year, really good in 3-on-3 overtime and shootouts. After the year prior, they were awful in that category. This year, they're not getting to those games as much. Remember, fans were complaining earlier about, when they're behind, they're not forcing overtime, maybe stealing some points. Well, it's because they're holding on to victories a lot. And it comes down to their goals against average this year through 41 games is dramatically better. And they're 3rd in the league by 1/100th of a percentage point. Otherwise, they'd be 1st. Okay. Winnipeg and Carolina are tied at 2.45. They have a 2.46. It's essentially the same goals against. Last year at this time, 3.10. And Luds, that to me, aside from the fact that their goals are down and their power play has dropped dramatically, the fact that their goals against has gone up or has reduced, gotten better, says a lot about this team.
Hey, John. You got that one on speed dial? Yeah, after all of that, when we were talking over there, my first response was goaltending.
Yep.
And then you were going, and I would have never guessed that. Thank you. I could have used that about a minute and a half ago, that emoji right there. I was thinking, there was no way that Casey was 6-4. Isn't that what you said, 6-4? I would have thought he was a lot better than that, just from a record standpoint, because I think he's been really good.
He has been good.
But the bottom line is, I go back to the beginning of the year, and even Jake had a couple, not great games. But all in all, I just think the goaltending has been really good, because I've seen some of those high danger chances, like you call them, and I think they're, even higher than that. They're flat out areas that there shouldn't be getting the puck, but the goaltenders have found a way to save it. So again, when you encompass all of this, I think it's a good thing, because I think this team is going to get, because we're seeing Maverick Bourque start to get a little bit,
we are.
And we know that Marchman's going to be back, and we're not sure when Tyler's going to be back, but he's going to be back. And is Jim Nill going to do something else down the stretch? Who knows? So I think that, everything being said, they're in a good spot from where I think when we first got into the first month of the season, we're like, what kind of year is this going to be? And now they're, they've got their legs underneath them. The best players are being their best players.
And it's not just about the winning streak, Sam, because that is nice, right? You win 7 in a row, you surge up the standings. It's hard to make up ground in the standings with what they call the loser point, right? The overtime point or the shootout point, even though you lose. Well, when you win 7 in a row, you make moves and you make up ground. And they've done that. But when you look at the underlying numbers, it's more than just this winning streak. And as Lud points it out, they're missing 2 key players in Seguin and Marchment, and still getting it done. And that is really encouraging for the long haul.
100%. And I think all of us could have expected this team to just kind of tread water without those 2 guys, right? That was their offense. Tyler Seguin, Matt Duchene, and Mason Marchment. You take 2 of those guys out of the lineup, you're dealing with the flu, you're dealing with all these other things that we have seen over the past month or 2 months. You maybe we just understand if they were just kind of treading water and not losing ground, but not gaining ground. I don't think a lot of people expected them to reel off 7 wins in a row, especially with a lot of them being on the road and against some good teams. So one interesting conversation I had with Casey DeSmith, and I've been kind of asking a few guys this question just to see where they stand, is, do you just look at just getting in at this point? And I know he mentioned, nobody loses games. It's not like we go out there and say, if we lose tonight, we're going to be the 4th seed and we're going to play. Like, they don't think about that. But he did admit that they just don't panic as much when they go up and down, right? They understand, as long as they stay within reach of potentially getting a home ice advantage or a decent matchup and not having to hopefully face a number 1 seed, they're fine with that. And I think that is huge, because they're just building pace right now. They're getting further up in the Central Division. It gives them a little bit of wiggle room, and we have no idea what the playoffs are going to look like in the West, but we know there's no favorable matchup. So it takes a little bit of pressure off, where they might be in a very secure playoff spot come, 4 Nations, or maybe right after 4 Nations, where they don't have as much pressure to kind of freak out and have to catch up or make up ground. And that might be big, because we might be looking at a couple new faces that are trying to assimilate into the system as well.
The other thing, Sam, is, like, I was just thinking about it, including Brendan Smith. There's 9 new players.
Yeah. Oh, there's some
there's
turnover.
9 new players. There's a half a team.
Bunch of rookies.
Yeah. There's a half a team here, along with everything that you just said. So,
which would usually suggest you'd be worse defensively.
Exactly, and it's going to take you longer to come together and getting used to each other. So at the end of the day, where you have to, and there's one time I'm not going to say Jim Nill. I'm going to say, you look at your coaches. You look at Pete DeBoer and
say it. You got to say it.
Spotter.
Yeah,
Spotter,
look, there he is.
Yeah, hey-o.
But also Misha Donskov and Elaine Nasruddin and the video coach and Jeff Reese, the goalie coach, like this group.
And we forgot, they lost an important player in the room,
who was a de facto head assistant coach.
Yeah, assistant coach, stepfather. Sounding board for half these
Billet
guys.
dad.
And if anybody doesn't know, it was Jim Pavelski, Joe Pavelski. Not Joe's
just
brother.
Just mash Jim and Joe together.
But I'm just saying, and then when you throw that in there, look at the turnover that this team has had and how they've come together and the spot that they're sitting at the halfway point.
We need a different logo for when things are going well for the Stars. Instead of the angry, evil eyes Steve spot, we need like As
Angel
says in the chat, we need angelic.
We have a new emoji. Would you like to see the new emoji?
I would love to see the new emoji.
Can we show? Has Sam seen the new emoji?
He has
yet,
not.
Tom?
I bet.
Well, we have a new emoji.
We've got
we
little
could
Uds.
just put them up here on the table.
No way.
Oh yeah,
that's amazing.
Well, it's a big day. I don't think it's going to go good, but it's a big day for us Packer
we have
fans.
lineup news. You guys talk about the lineup. Let's take a look at the Stars. Matej Blumel is going to play his second game of the year. You may forget that he actually played his first game back in October on the 19th against Edmonton. He got 8 minutes of ice time, 11 shifts, 2 shots on goal, no points, and he was even. He is going to go in and play, according to the line rushes from Mike Heika, the left wing with Oscar Beck moving to center. By the way, Beck was 9 of 12 in the faceoff circle yesterday in Montreal, and Colin Blackwell on the right. What do you think about Blumel, Sam, coming in for Huru? Blumel has been super hot for the Texas Stars in the AHL, but he's only played 7 career NHL games.
Yeah, I think he could bring a little bit more scoring, honestly. We thought Huru might add some offense. He didn't get a whole lot. I think he only had the assist that went off his foot for his first point. So, you bring in a guy, it's a lot to play in the NHL, and Huru has now done MSG and Philly and in Montreal. It's a tough first road trip for a young kid. It's a good idea to switch it and not put the look at Luds in the building over here.
Well, you need a little bit of decor in
decoration.
there. Your fiance was upset about us teasing everybody about the lack of decor. Well,
whose bedroom is that, by the way?
Now you got little Luds.
This is hers.
It's hers?
Katie's.
Oh,
bedroom,
thank God John didn't put me laying down on the bed there, right, John?
No,
You wouldn't
use
want to
him.
do that.
Put him covering the wire there.
Cover the TV cord. Yes.
No, but I think it's honestly a good decision to give. You bring in a new guy, he's going to have tons of energy, right? It's Blumel. He's been motivated to get back ever since his first game. He's been scoring at will. He's not going to get the power play time, the things that he's been doing super well with the Texas Stars as well, but he'll get a chance. That line hasn't scored a ton, right? We've seen Steele has helped a little bit. Bork's been scoring a little bit more. So maybe it brings out a little bit more in those other 2 guys in that line. But I think giving him a chance with this game back to back, it'll bring some energy. And I think the best thing for what I see from the lineup is putting him on the left of that side, because right now the Stars need to mess with as little as possible with the way things are going. And that's what they did. They slotted him in, moved one guy over, and that's it. Leave the rest of this.
I have some more numbers for you on Blumel. You ready for this?
Oh, I'm ready, man.
Okay. So Matej Blumel has 1 goal in 6 games back in 22-23. So Pete DeBoer's first year as the Stars head coach. Didn't play any last year. He's played 1 this year. This year in the AHL, he's tied for 6th in the league in points and 5th in goals. 18 goals, 32 points. He's currently on a 9-game point streak where he has 14 points, 8 goals, 6 assists. And in 32 games with the Texas Stars this year, he has scored in 3 quarters, at least 1 point in 3 quarters of the games. He's only gone without a point in 8 of 32 games. He is consistent, and his longest scoring drought of the year, 2 times he's gone 2 games without a point. That's it. He is putting up points. Now, again, Luds, that's all fine and good at the AHL level.
I know. You know where I'm going.
How does that translate with the NHL?
Well, we've seen it didn't for Maverick Bork, did it? It took a few games, took him 30 games for it to translate. Yeah. So I'm not getting my hopes up, about that. But the good news is today there's a pair of fresh legs in there for Pete. That I think, and we'll see how much he gets used and stuff like that. But again, I think he comes in here probably with confidence. It's not like he hasn't been here before, and he may get an opportunity today. I mean, maybe Spotter says, hey, maybe he can get out there, right, Sam? Maybe, exactly. Well, why not?
He's got more power play goals than I believe anybody on the Dallas Stars does. So why not give it a shot?
But you were talking to me off air about what they haven't been getting offensively from their bottom 2 lines.
They haven't got anything. I mean, Maverick scored a couple games ago, right?
Yes.
Well, and I think Beck got a goal about 4 games ago. But I don't even know if that one hit his stick.
Yeah, the Huru. That was
hit him in the leg.
They hit him in the foot. Yeah. Well, and Huru didn't hit him in the stick either. He got a point on it.
I thought it did.
Okay, I think it hit him in the foot. Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, maybe
Sam.
it might have been skate, right?
It was skate. Their defenseman. That's what it was. So, so why not? I mean, give him a shot. I mean, again, this may be a good day to do it. Ottawa has, I mean, they've won one game and they beat Pittsburgh last night 5-0. Pittsburgh's fallen off a cliff anyway. So they've won one game in at least their last 5. But they're better. They're probably better than 3 of the teams that are ahead of them, to be honest with you, when it comes at least to goals for and goals against, things like that. So, I mean, it could be a chance that he gets to see some ice today because he can spell a couple guys here and there. And like I said, it's always nice to have a fresh body, and hope he gets a good opportunity.
Let's take a look at the defense and goaltending for the Stars expected today. No changes for the 6. That means Brendan Smith will be a healthy scratch. But as we all expect, Casey DeSmith will start. And Sam, Casey DeSmith has been really, really good since the beginning of December with a 4-0 record in 5 games, including a relief stint, 1.40 goals against, and a .950 save percentage. And he had an assist on New Year's Eve against Buffalo.
Yeah, I love his calm. That's what I always talk about with Casey. It's kind of what Scott Wedgwood had a little bit too, where you just feel better when he's behind you. And that's what Matt Dumba talked about after the Philly game was it's just relaxes us to know he's back there because he's very calm. He's going to take all the whistles he can get, especially on the road to slow things down when you need to. But he's also incredibly quick. And Dumba talks about his speed and his agility and how athletic he is. And Sean wrote a little bit about DeSmith today over on the site. But it just gives you that blend that balances Ottinger well, right? You put Ottinger in there, you know exactly what you're going to get from him. You put DeSmith in, you're going to get a different style of game, but you know he's going to give you those saves and sometimes gives you a chance on some saves that Ottinger doesn't because he's so athletic and quick. But I just think that it's so huge for the Stars. Pete DeBoer called it a luxury to just be able to go, let's take Ottinger out, give him a rest, and put DeSmith in. And I think as much as they didn't admit it over the first couple months of the season, I think there's a reason we didn't see Casey DeSmith as much, right? They clearly have more faith in him to play him more. The schedule obviously forces them into it as well, and he's deserved it. And I think that it's huge for this team to have 2 goalies because as much as Leds wants to argue, Jake Ottinger is a goalie that drops on his knees a lot, slams his legs into posts a lot, and gets hurt a lot. And the less he can play, the better for this team, I think. And that's what DeSmith has allowed them to have the luxury to do.
Enough said. Go ahead, Sam. You can be right today.
Okay.
This is a day after your big day. I'm going to let you be right on everything.
By the way, after 2 periods in Detroit, it's the Red Wings 6 and Seattle 1.
What is going on with that team? They're just
Who, Detroit?
They've won 6
in a row.
say the dead cat bounce is helping out, right?
Are you saying that Todd McClellan has gotten them going?
He's lost 1 game, I think. The first game that
the
they
very
got there.
first one.
And everything else is turning up roses.
They are dominating.
Steve Yzerman is now a hero again.
Now he
after
looks
5
good again.
years of junk.
By the way, Seattle thumped Buffalo last night. And now they look like they're definitely tired. I think Detroit played yesterday, maybe. I don't remember. All right, let's talk about the Ottawa Senators. Luds mentioned their win yesterday. They went in and blanked Pittsburgh 5-0 at PPG Paints Arena. And that was really good for them because that ended a 4-game losing skid where they were 0-3-1. Luds, they were on a 6-game winning streak. They had a great start to the month of December where they went 8-1-1 in their first 10 games that month. Then they ran into a couple teams, including the Dallas Stars. They are now 2-5-1 in their last 8 games. Their first home game after 9 straight on the road, they got blanked by the Buffalo Sabres. That sounded like a bit of a trap game in some sense, coming off a long road stint. But as you look at their group today, they are going to have Reinert is injured. He picked up an injury we just saw, so he's going to come out. Matthew Highmore will play. Zach McEwen will come back in and play today. Look at the defense, though. They've lost Hamonic to injury, so they're a little banged up there. And I was wrong. I assumed Anton Forsberg would start because Levi Merilainen played yesterday, got the shutout. They're going to give Levi Merilainen the start today. It's his first career home appearance and start first start for the Senators at home, and he's playing both sides of the back-to-back. It's not unheard of, but that doesn't happen very often.
There should be a limit on dots. John, can you put our forward group up there again?
On dots.
There's a couple umlauts.
No, put ours up there.
Oh, the Stars forward group?
Yeah, put the Stars forward group up there.
Especially with Blue Melon here.
Look at Blue Melon.
Yeah.
See them dots?
I do.
Now go back to their group. There's Stutzel. Now go to their D. There's another goaltender.
Yeah,
look at all the dots going on here.
A lot of Europeans,
a lot of
man.
Scandinavians.
There should be a limit for dots, like just 2 maybe, and then you can split them or something.
Well,
like
you should see Oli Motto when he's got 3 A's with umlauts over it.
This is a game. You know what? This is a good. I think if Dallas can get on these guys early, and then what'll happen is John and I already sent them the stuff here about their captain Brady Kachuk, and he'll start running around. Oh yeah, there it is, right there.
Oh, we got a graphic
Yeah.
request today.
Wow.
So just for, I mean, and again, great leader, great kid, like his old man, like his brother. But you go back to 2018, he is number 1 in the league in taking penalties, and he's number 1 in the league in drawing penalties. But the good news about that for him, he's a plus 17 on that. In other words, he's drawn more. He's put their team on the power play more. But what happens is he's their fire plug. He's the guy.
He's like Brad Marchand in those numbers, except
Brad Marchand is second, by the way.
he has the size that Marchand doesn't. But that reminds me a lot of the Bruins captain. He is a eventful hockey player, isn't he?
Yeah, and but he's got a short fuse. I mean, but the bottom line is he can draw you in as much as you can draw him in, and it kind of evens out. But there's another guy on this team, and it's Tim Stützle. Stützle is number 18 in overall in the league in drawing penalties. So where he's a plus 17, Stützle is like ridiculous. He's a plus 82.
You're kidding.
And so, in
Is
other
that
words,
over his career?
that's over his.
Okay.
That's since 2018.
Okay.
I just
well,
did
that
it
would
from
be
the
his
year there.
career
So
because he hasn't been playing
didn't he
that
play
long.
1 year before him? Before Kachuk, he might have been there 1 year prior to that. So
Stützle's
max
younger.
it's one more
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
But again, so you got to keep an eye on Stützle because he's got he's got the way you can call it diving, whatever you want. He puts his team on the power play. I mean, he's a European, which has nothing to do with it, right? European, they don't dive or anything like that. So, but I mean, it's the Kachuk kid. I mean that. He's one of those guys everybody hates, but you'd love to have him on your team, and it's a good comparison with Marchand. So, but that he's gonna. It depends on how the game gets going early on, and I think he'll try to fire it up. He's at home, and he does that with the crowd and stuff like that. So hopefully Dallas gets a jump on him. What I'm saying is there's an opportunity today, if you keep your wits about you, to get a couple power play opportunities here, and you never know, that second group may score again.
Yeah, it's not the best penalty kill for Ottawa either, so it's a good chance. I'm just wondering, Luds, if you think, we talk about the Stars getting out hit and run around a lot. We know this team doesn't hit. We know they're not super physical. Do you worry at all when you go up against teams like this? This isn't an overly huge physical team, but they have a couple guys like Kachuk that can really get in your face, and we just haven't seen a big response from Dallas in that area.
Yeah, you know what, Sam? I think it's been a couple of years here. I think that Dallas has never for a long time been that kind of club, and maybe it's the way that they're put together. And I think their best response to physical play has been, not so much this year, you want to play physical with us? Go ahead, because we're just going to hurt you on the power play. And a lot of times that's what backs teams off, that if they don't have that physical response, is you're like, we got to stop taking penalties on these guys, so they're just going to bury us. Now, that hasn't panned out this year, and I think teams can be more liberal with them and take more liberties with them if they're not able to score on the power play. So that's another reason why it's important, because last night, I think they got out hit 4-1 last night or something like that. Wasn't it 30-something?
Oh, it was way worse than. Yeah, it was bad.
8 times 4 is 32.
No, you're right, but it was like 23-2 after 2 periods.
It ended up.
They caught up a
third.
little bit in the third and overtime, but
but the bottom line is they won the hockey game. And
look at the guy that says he doesn't want to hear math throwing out a little multiplication.
Well, I was just doing it quickly in my head there. I think it's 4-1. But
you're right.
So
he's right.
So, but anyway, again, I think as a general manager and as staff, you're keeping obviously tabs on this kind of stuff. Do we need to add this to be where we want to go this year? Do we need a physical presence? Does that mean that we bring in a physical winger that can bring in both sides of it? Like a Tom Wilson. I'm not saying Tom Wilson's leaving there, but
he's
some
not.
player. No, he's not leaving there.
Yeah,
but some player like that.
Considering they took over first in the league yesterday.
Yeah, I don't think you touch that team.
Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing to touch there.
They might try to add to it.
Yeah, if you're going to look to get a guy like that, it's something going to be a team that's probably not going to make
the playoffs.
But
in that mold,
that mold, if you could.
Okay, so the Stars met the Ottawa Senators for the first time at the beginning of the month. It was their first game in January 2nd in Dallas. The Stars got 2 goals from Rope Hintz. They won the game 4-2. I don't think that there's a coincidence. I do think there's a coincidence because Ottawa's been dealing with a virus that's been going through their team, an illness. And just like Dallas did in December, where they were having guys playing through stuff, some in and out of the lineup, that's what happened with Ottawa. So when I gave you those numbers earlier about Ottawa going 2-5-1 in their last 8, that's part of what's going on. So don't overlook these guys as, they've crashed back to earth.
They were on a 9-game road trip, too.
They were on a 9-game road trip. They were dealing with a bug of some sort of flu-like thing. Well, guess what? They might be starting to get over that, but they do have some pretty big injuries because of losing, David Perron is maybe getting closer, but he's been out for a really long time. Amadio has a concussion. He's out. Travis Hamonic is out now. Noah Gregor picked up an injury. Olmark is on the IR with a back injury. They are dealing with some stuff. Can the Stars take advantage of that? Because, Luds, I went, the other pregame show yesterday, I did a little who's hot, right? Well, for Dallas, Jamie Benn is really hot right now. Sam, of course, hot Sam. We've got Jason Robertson, who's been on fire, and Maverick Bourque now with a 3-game point streak. I could not come up with 3 players for Ottawa that are trending in the right direction. So I have a who's not. Brady Tkachuk has 1 goal, 0 assists in his last 4 games. Josh Norris has 1 assist in his last 5 and 3 points in his last 11. Timothy Stützle, 2 points in his last 6. And Drake Batherson has 4 points in his last 11. In fact, it was a couple of guys snapping long goal droughts in Pittsburgh, including Batherson, Pinto, and Stützle.
I was going to say,
they've been
Pinto's
struggling.
got a power play goal and a shorty in his last game. So
that's right.
He's hot.
But before that, no goals in 7.
Yeah, well,
this team has not been scoring.
That's why they lost, all those games.
Yep.
Nobody's hot. So I don't feel bad for him.
I don't either.
Okay.
All right. Well, guys, it's time to go watch on Victory Plus. Let's find out what happens. We'll be here. Make sure to tune in for the post-game show right here on DLLS. And in Buddy's fashion.
Well, yeah. Well, don't forget, 3:30 is game time, by the way, John. Coming up.
Little
there's
Luds?
another TV.
There he is.
Oh, there we go.
All right. Well, enjoy the game. We'll see you afterwards.
I believe that they are going to crush
There it
these
is.
guys tonight.
We all silly like the mayor.